Hi guys, I just want to take a minute today to talk to you about what you should be thinking about as you're taking notes from your research. Um, there's a lot of different ways that you can take notes when you do research, but there are a few important elements that need to be included on every single note. First of all, you always want to include the name of the source, the title, so that you know where you got your information. Be sure that you're including the author of the source as well as any other information that might help you be able to go back to that source when it comes time for the works cited. On your notes, then, you're going to also include your paraphrase of your important material. Now, the only time you would not paraphrase is if you're going to choose a fact or a statistic from your research to include in your paper. Facts and statistics can be quoted directly, but when you're taking your notes, you're going to need to notate that that's a fact, or that you're quoting it directly so that you give proper citations and proper sources. Otherwise, everything else should be paraphrased. And paraphrase just means, hey, we're going to put this person's ideas into our own words. We're going to read this and then retell it in our own words. And then another really helpful thing to include in your notes is, why did you pick this piece of information? Why did you choose to take a note on this piece of information? This is going to help you a lot when you get to writing, because you might have forgotten why you decided this was an important piece of information to cite or to take notes on. And so the note about why it's important will help keep you focused in your writing. Let me show you a little bit of an example of what I mean by this. So I was looking just for an article that we could use, and I went to MSNBC, and I was able to find this article about an author or an officer being shot in California. Now, in general, I would say we don't use MSNBC as a source because, as we know from credible sources, anything that has .com is usually commerce, and we don't want to include those in our list of our academic sources. But for the purpose of this exercise, I am going to show you just how you might cite this information. If you look up at the top of my page here, I listed the title of my article. I also listed that it came from the Los Angeles Times and the date. All of this information is going to help me to be able to go back to this source when it's time to cite it in my works cited. Below I found that I have this, below I put a paraphrase. This is what I read in the article, just in the first couple of paragraphs. And then on this side of my note card, I put why I decided that this was important. And this side of the note card, the why side of the note card, is really formatted in your this plus the verb plus your what kind of statement. So for example, this, referring to my summary, provides, well, what is it providing? It provides background information regarding the crime committed this week in California. The incident shows types of dangers officers face in the line of duty. This piece of information right here is going to come in super handy when I go back to include this information in my paper. I'm going to know why I picked the information, what I thought I could do with the information. I'm going to have that right there on my note card. So when you're doing your notes, I want you to include your source information, your summary, and then I want you to include this why does it matter? Just a sentence or two saying, what is this piece of information doing? Why is it important for your topic? Your assignment then is this. I want you to choose one of the papers that you've written that you're going to develop for your research assignment. Most of you have already done this. You know what your topic is. Go back to that paper and review the claim or the argument that you're trying to make. What are you trying to prove to me? If your thesis is an argumentative thesis, you're going to want to revise that, because all of these papers are intended to prove something to me. Then I want you to use the information that you got regarding credible sources to locate 3 sources that will provide information on your topic. Now, please, please, please do not just use web sources. Those are the least credible sources. Even your .edus and .orgs are typically not accepted in large colleges and universities as credible sources. So I don't want you to get into the habit of depending on them for information. For this class, you can use one web page, one web source, but I want your other information to come from the essays in our textbook, from the databases, a book that you got from the library, some other source besides just a web page. Then I want you to take 5 notes from these sources that will help support your topic. Again, we're just going to reference back here. On your note, you're including your source information, your paraphrase or your quote, and why you put that information in your notes. That's it. Make sure that if you choose to do a direct quote or a word-for-word quote from your source, that you indicate that that is a direct quote so that you cite it appropriately in your paper. That's all I've got for today. I'm looking forward to looking at your sources and your notes.